Hi there. I got myself a hard drive, but it was suspiciously cheap. I mean, they still do good stuff. The ADATA. It was at $45 for a 1 TB hard drive, even though it's a standard HDD, and I would use it only to archive data. It was a little bit too cheap, and I was a little bit suspicious if it isn't some kind of refurbished thing that is packaged back. And although it has a weird USB connector over here, and this is how the cable looked like. I was still suspicious, so I decided to test it. And every time I buy some kind of device that is a little bit suspicious, I mean storage device, USB pen drives, anything like that, I usually test it first just to make sure, just to be sure that it even makes sense to put any kind of data in it. And let me show you what I exactly did, but first let us remove the foil, standard piece of thing. Oh yeah, there you go. And let me connect it to the PC and show you what I exactly did. First thing I usually do, I just open the command line, and this is important. It's as administrator here, and I run the disk part. That's because I want to be sure. Well, that's my computer, obviously, and if I list disk, I have two drives over here. This is a built-in drive, and this is my external drive, and I have to select. You don't have to type full lines, but you should. If you are curious about the commands, you can always type in help, like so. So I select disk one, and that's the disk I have selected. And one of the commands I want to show you, and this is very important that you select the correct disk. You can look a few times if you want to. This is a disk one, and this is the disk I selected. It's very important because you can remove a lot of data this way. And usually I do over here clean. And this cleans the whole configuration, everything from the disk. So I just type in clean, and this basically wipes the contents of the disk. And if I list partitions, there are no partitions. That was previously a built-in partition, one huge NTFS volume. So now I have completely cleaned disk, and now I would go to another software to check the disk for any kind of errors. And for this, I will be using is US Partition Master. It's free to use, and if you go to their website, it's easily downloadable. Well, you can sign up, but basically, it's a free software, and I think it's really convenient to use for this purpose. Here I'm in the Partition Master, and again, that's just a free edition. It has the things I need. As you can see, that's a USB drive, and this is my 1 TB drive, which is actually 930 gigabytes in size. And what I would normally do here is right-click and then with advanced surface test, and then you can wait up to, well, that depends on your speed of your drive. For me, it was in reality around 5 hours of that surface test. I already run it. The time can change, and what it basically does is it checks for the bad sectors, tries to read it, and this is a very basic test, so it can help you verify what's exactly going on here with your drive. Okay, well, once you're here, well, basically, what I usually do, I just create a new volume. If you want to, you can format it, assign a letter, do stuff like that. But that's up to you. What you want to do with your drive, that's completely another topic. But what I want to show you right now to inspect more information, because the disk is clean. There are no bad sectors. I checked it already. But what I want to check now, what's its history? So has anyone actually used it before me, or is it completely new from the factory, or is it some kind of refurbished disk that is put into a new case or something like this? So to check something, some information about your drive, you can download here a standard edition, a Crystal Disk Info, and there are multiple versions. It depends what flavor you want. You can even download the stuff like, for example, zip portable editions. So that's really cool. Oh, right over here, and I will put a link to this software that I'm using. Okay, so I have my Crystal Disk Info over here. This is information about the drive itself, because as you can see here, that's a second drive, and even though it does say that the manufacturer was a data, it is actually a Toshiba drive inside. It's only a 5,400 RPM, so it's not that great. But for example, you can see here that well, the power on count is only 4 times, so it wasn't used before. I mean, I already did the surface scan and tested it. There was some basic stuff, and it was only turned on for 10 hours. So it was seven of those were for the for the scan, and I left the computer on. And it went to do some other stuff. So basically, that's pretty good. You can also take a look at the other information here, any read error rates and spin up time, which can be also important. If this is a very high value, it can mean that the head is failing. Basically, it has to spend some extra time to inspect, to start up and start working. You can also take a look at the SIG error rate. That means that head is having a problems looking up the sectors. That's the start-stop count. How many sectors were reallocated? That's the information for you. That how many sectors it's used in reality to move the data to another place. So if the basically the controller on the hard drive will notice that there is something wrong with the sector, it has a pool of backup sectors that it can still use, because in reality this hard drive isn't exactly uh, 930 gigabytes like it's said in the software itself. It's a little bit bigger, so it can have some space to reallocate those sectors and all kinds of other information. These are mostly hex values that can be interpreted. This is a smart, basically a smart data that you can read from this. Another thing is, you please keep in mind that some of the hard disks won't show you information about reallocated sectors count, or for example, SSD drives during the surface scan won't actually show you bad sectors. It will reallocate data on the fly. So this may be a little bit unprecise, let's say, because the hard drive controller does all the things on the fly, and you cannot even see that there is some kind of problems. And if there's additional sectors that are not meant for standard use, that are meant for replacing bad sectors, are being completely used up, that it will appear here, and also during the surface scan for sure. But as you can see here, that's pretty good. That's at least good enough, and it's pretty normal for a hard drive to have some bad sectors that are marked in the factory as being bad and failed. So it's just something that you have to take into consideration, making something a little bit cheaper. Nothing is absolutely perfect. And let me show you smart information for another drive that I have. Okay, so here's the drive that I used previously to store those videos, because the new one will be replacing that one, because the old drive had a lot of problems, really a lot of problems, even starting up. So as you can see here, well, the power on count 4,500. The power on hours 6,500. That's a lot. I mean, the fact that this drive still works, it's pretty impressive, to be honest. And it read error rate. So as you can see here, there are some values here. So it means that it has some problems, and also spin up time. It's not that perfect. It should be a far smaller value over here, as this is the start stop count that we saw here. This is the reallocated sectors count, so it still is 0, right? So that should be pretty good. I mean, at least for the data integrity, but it has some problems reading that data. Sometimes at least. And that's a lot of information and about the drive itself and stuff like that. But in general, it is still working after all this time. That's quite a lot of time. Oh, let's see here. Right. So it's almost, yeah, that's the most of the year, let's say, of a constant use, and that's pretty impressive, to be honest, if I think about this, because this is a really old drive. As you can see, it's pretty small. So I think that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Take care.